What we've done, I think, with Privy is given institutional level tools and data to the average person who just wants to buy a couple fix and flips. So right here, there's a button that says find similar active deals. So this is where our patent pending process comes into play, where we use these successfully closed deals as a model for what a deal looks like in this market. And we then use those as a model and look for properties that are similar that you can buy today that have the discount that you want that's based off of your strategy. And when I look at the data here, you can see that there's actual comparables in the area that are selling, upward of 190,000, 200,000. And this property is available at $23,000. This looks like maybe a six-figure flip. You guys should write an offer on this thing today, Scott.
I know, I was just gonna say, I wrote the address down already.
Again, you could bang your head against the wall, spend tens of thousands of dollars and never find a property like this through traditional means.
Welcome to another edition of the Real Estate Investors Money Matrix podcast. I am Scott Ulmer, your host. We've got an awesome episode today and an awesome guest. His name is Benson Juarez. He's got an amazing system called Privy, Privy, and it's really a data and software system that helps with comparables, with finding deals, with analyzing deals. It's just a neat system, and wherever you are in your investing career, if you're thinking about investing, if you're a beginning investor, if you're a seasoned investor, this is something that is worth looking at and certainly worth listening to. He actually walks through a screen share where he finds a smoking deal in Jacksonville, my own backyard, pulls this deal up and looks like it could be a really, really good one. I'm probably going to go submit an offer here as soon as I stop recording this, but really a great podcast and video here. I think you're getting a lot of value from it. So without further ado, let me go and introduce my guest, very special guest, Benson Juarez with Privy. Let's go ahead and dive in. Benson Juarez, thank you again for being with me. Really excited to have you here, by the way. I will share, as we've talked over the past few weeks, I've been very, very impressed with what I call your pedigree, kind of where you came from. You've got really, to me, a very impressive background of what you did prior to launching Privy, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. But it just all was very much in line with the world that you live in today, and certainly what you do for a living, including Privy. Can you share a little bit about your background and your pedigree and kind of how you got to where you are today?
Sure. That whole pedigree word is interesting to me. It feels off. I know all of a sudden I feel like I've got imposter syndrome. But I do have a background. So I went to school for computer information systems at Colorado State University here in Colorado. I've always been kind of an entrepreneur. So, I started slinging newspapers at 12, and did that for 4 years, waking up at 5 a.m, just to kind of make my own money, and that was my first attempt at, having my own route and, making some money when everybody else was, just doing normal junior high and high school things. And then, I grew up, went to college, and I started another company while I was in school in the kind of the nutrition space. So it was kind of like a GNC type scenario. We opened up a store where we sold that, but we implemented like a consultation element. So people could come and get nutrition advice and workout plans, and we would match up like the supplements and the meals with that. And I did that for 6 years while I was in school. Eventually sold out, and then got into I was transitioning to like launching my own nutritional products. I was actually going to launch a dietary product, and I went back to school to get an MBA. And while I was in school, 9/11 happened. And so I was activated to active duty because at that point I had been in the military to help me pay for school in the National Guard. And so I was activated after 9/11, was pulled out of school, went overseas. And then that's when I really started studying real estate. And so I was buying books and CDs and just educating myself, during times when I could. And that was kind of my beginning in the space. It was Carlton Sheets, if you remember him, was my very first, CDs that I bought. And actually Robert Allen, right? And Carlton have a very interesting history, which they talked about at the last family reunion. And so him and who was with them? I can't remember now, on stage, and they were talking about it.
John
So in
LeGrand?
case, what's that?
Was it LeGrand?
It was LeGrand, yeah, yeah. Ron and him were up on stage, and they were talking about it. But anyway, that's where I got my first interest, was from Carlton Sheets, and then I started buying the Rich Dad Poor Dad books, and and then the rest is kind of just history. So while I was active duty, I came back from overseas, and I was doing my duty at our air base here in Colorado, and being an entrepreneur, I was bored, right? So I was working mids from 6 to 6. And then I wake up in the middle of the day and I would just sit around. I'm like, I need to do something with my time. So I went out and learned how to do mortgage loans. And so I was doing loans during the day, going to the base at night. And then sometimes I'd have like 2 or 3 days off right in the middle of the week. And then I would be able to do like loans all day. And so I was just kind of getting the money going, started doing loans, hard money loans for investors. And that's when I was like, wait a second, I can do this too. And so, I started doing some wholesale deals, buying some of my own properties. I opened up a mortgage company, and we were doing, fix and flip and buy and hold, and all kinds of different strategies. And then got licensed as a real estate agent. I'm still licensed to this day. So I just added that piece on it because I knew I was paying out all these fees to agents who were making all the money. And I'm like, wait a second, I can just go get a $300 course and teach myself how to do it. And then I got licensed. And so I was just getting money from all different angles there. And during the downturn, like 2007, 8, is when obviously a lot of people got hit hard. I did too. With our portfolio, took a pretty big hit. And then I kind of just rebranded myself, I suppose, as somebody who was kind of an expert working with investors, because there was a lot of investment activity. And then I was working with REO brokerages to help them manage their leads that were incoming. So I just built like this
time, right?
Perfect timing, right? I built a whole program about how to help investors, and I was just taking calls from actually multiple different brokerages because they just weren't managing those leads properly. And then I met my business partner, Scott Fall. We were both in the same real estate REO firm. And that's when the idea of Privy started popping up, where we were looking for more effective ways of searching for deals, running comps for ourselves, but also for our clients, because there was a limit to the amount of effectiveness we could have without, beginning to drop some balls. So that's when that discussion happened. And this was before RETS, which is the Real Estate Transaction Standard, was implemented by the National Association of Realtors. At that point, all of the data was really fragmented. They didn't have any normalization on a nationwide basis. And so initially, when my business partner approached RE Colorado, which is the name of the MLS here in Colorado, they just weren't interested in us doing it what we wanted to do, which was to build a product that was based off of the MLS data. And then once the initiative came down from NAR, they reached back out to us and said, hey, listen, we got this initiative. You guys want to help us launch it? And so we were basically the first ones here in Colorado to have access to that new data feed, the way that they had designed it, so that vendors like us can build a product and not have to do it differently for every single MLS nationwide. And so,
which means every state, Craig, you wouldn't have to go by and replicate every state
or every market, because even within some states, there's multiple MLSs, and they were different too. Like here in Colorado, we've got, a dozen different MLSs, but there's basically 2 or 3 that cover the majority of the state. It's just that these like local smaller areas have their own way of doing things. So that all just changed. Like data changed everything for everyone, right? And so now you weren't kind of like bound by your geographical area on where you could have some success, where you could do deals. And then Privy just kind of grew from there. We started launching new markets, adding in more and more MLS data, which was our primary source of data for many, many years. We only recently launched nationwide within the last year, which allows us to get access to like public record data, owner information, sold data nationwide, and as well as multiple different sources of MLS. But we're one of the only companies that is going direct to MLS in multiple markets. And so right now we've got 40 plus markets. We just launched Jacksonville, which I'm excited about. So we've got a huge coverage area in the Florida market and many other states across the country. So it's exciting times.
It really is. And I really want to dive in fact, that you're going to screen share with us here in just a second and give us kind of a demonstration, which I'm excited about. But let me just kind of backtrack a bit on some of the things you said and why I introduced you the way that I did. It's not imposter syndrome, by the way. You're a very impressive guy. And if you look at how you came to the point that you are in your life, that's what was important for me to share, because when you told me these things, I was very impressed. So obviously the entrepreneurial bug was kind of at a young age and selling papers at 5 a.m. when the others were still sleeping. That's impressive. But when you got out of and then starting a business when you're in college, again, that just shows the entrepreneurial spirit. People that are going to be subscribers to this platform that you have started, I think for the most part, you're going to have that similar entrepreneurial background or hunger or kind of hot button, if you will. So then you got into the mortgage world. So you kind of got to see the other side of the transaction. And I know for me, I've been 26 years doing this. Most investors don't necessarily understand that side of the business. Many borrow hard money, borrow private money. That's what they know. Most aren't privy necessarily to what it takes to get traditional mortgages consistently. And again, that's a generalized statement, but to be able to see the other side of the transaction and see what people are doing, why they're coming up short with their loans and what the qualifications are, all those things that just, again, a great kind of entree to where you are today. And then of course the downturn happens 2008. Most people in the real estate world got hurt in some way, shape, or form, or affected, certainly would be a softer word. And so here you are again on the other side of the coin, dealing with REO brokerages, dealing with kind of this massive influx of properties. REO, for those that don't know, stands for real estate owned. Those are properties that are essentially taken back through foreclosure by the bank. And so here you are dispersing these, and again, seeing all these things and realizing there's this fragmented data, and really you're limited to where you live. And in today's day and age, that obviously was a very big deal. Fast forward the tape, here we are in 2022, remote investing, the ability to do deals in markets anywhere, certainly was I'd say maybe exacerbated by COVID and having everybody having to kind of stay home. But it's systems like Privy and what we're going to talk about in just a second that allow people to really have accurate real-time data to make investments in other markets. And again, Benson, I just think all the things that led up to Privy today just are almost like a perfect storm for why this is a dynamite product. So that's why I wanted to share your background, because it was really impressive to me, and just those were kind of my takeaways. So anyway, thank you for sharing that. And
yeah,
so,
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So okay. So Scott and you get together, your partner Scott, not myself, and you guys realize that there's an opportunity here, and so take it from there. So you guys looked at kind of how you were collecting data and realized there's a void here. How do we fill it? You talked about the National Association of Realtors, NAR is the acronym, and how they came back to you, and you guys were able to kind of multiply, and you're now in over 40 markets. So kind of pick up from there. Can you give us maybe just a Reader's Digest version on what Privy is for those that are not familiar with it?
Yeah, Privy is a data and analytics platform. We basically help real estate agents and real estate investors more easily find and analyze investment properties by leveraging data, software, automation in a quicker fashion and more accurately than they could in the past by doing things manually or the old-fashioned way. So we are just pulling in data from different sources, and we run algorithms against it, basically, which speeds up the process and being able to analyze, millions of properties even in seconds nationwide. And so that when an investor is looking to execute their strategy, whether it's fix and flip or wholesale or buy and hold or some other creative deal structure with direct to seller, they need to have access to that data to be able to properly analyze a property to make sure that it fits their criteria, which for most people is just a discount, right? I want to get it at a certain discount of the after repair value. And then for other people, it's about, cash flow, what kind of rents, can I get from a property? And then, what price point do I have to buy it at so I get the right, return on investment or cash on cash return, whatever numbers they use to decide whether or not a deal is viable. So we provide that information for the average person. And what we realize is there's so many moving parts in the business that we really needed to simplify it so that somebody who's just starting off can actually get some traction, because what is it, upwards of 90 to 95% of everybody who starts in this business fails because they just don't have the proper tools or education or support to be able to execute and take it to the next level. And a lot of these people get sucked into like these expensive coaching programs that are $50,000 or more. I mean, most of them are less than that, but they start them off on the kind of like this tiered approach and get them to pay more and more money, and those people still aren't having much success. So we really wanted to create a platform that could empower the average investor, we'll call them, to be able to actually find properties, understand the numbers, and do it with the little time they have left over, because most people start off and it's just kind of a side hustle. It's not their full-time job. And so they need a way to kind of get full-time results with part-time work. And that's where I think the automation is so important. It's almost like having a team of virtual assistants kind of sort through all of the noise and drill down on the properties that make the most sense. But the thing that really actually was, for us, I think what sets us apart from all the competition is we've got actually a patent pending process that's based off of a comparative search. But essentially what that means is we've got this reverse REI strategy where you begin with the end in mind. You're probably familiar with the 7 habits of highly effective people. So Stephen Covey, the second habit is begin with the end in mind. So basically you're thinking many steps down the road before you start, so you can figure out where you want to get. Like, it's hard to figure out where you want to get if you don't think about that first. And then we reverse engineer the process. And basically what we're doing is we're extracting what we call investor activity. These are successfully closed properties that have happened. And we're able to basically use our algorithms to identify every single deal, or fix and flip, pop, top, scrape, buy and hold nationwide. And then you can see what a successful deal looks like. And that's another part of the education that's missing in this space, is that most of it is theory. So there's all these books and podcasts and YouTube University where people go and they educate themselves. And the majority of it is all about lead gen, just lead generation, the sales and the marketing side, where people get started in real estate investing, but when they start, they're not doing any real estate investing. They're learning how to do cold calling and skip tracing and knocking on doors, pay-per-click, Facebook, like all this stuff. And they'd never really learned the real estate side of the business. And so when they come across a property that could be a deal, they don't know. They don't know how to run comps. They don't even know what a deal looks like. And so by us extracting that investor activity, we're able to show you, like, here's what a successful deal looks like in Jacksonville. Here's what they bought it for. Here's what they sold it for. Here's how much money they made. Here's the before and after photos. It's like a real world fix and flip show, but without the actors and the contrived situations where somebody almost falls right before a commercial break. Like, it's real deals. And there's so much education that comes out of it that is unavailable anywhere else. There's no other source of education that you can go to get that level, like market level education about the real estate industry. It just doesn't exist. And so it's really the only way they can learn that side of the business without actually going out there and doing it. And you don't want to learn that lesson of what a deal is by messing up and failing and being one and done. You want to just be able to learn it by emulating and looking at what other investors have done, and then emulating that success and building that into your strategy. And so we've been able to do that through data.
Fantastic. Yeah, you starting investor, or really any level, you go out with the wrong understanding and not having the right knowledge, and you either get burned on a deal, miss a deal, it can put a nail in the coffin for some people, particularly those that are trying to get out of the gate. So sounds fascinating. Again, I've been very impressed with it. We've had a chance to take a look at it, and obviously, we're proponents of it, and we think it's great. Can you do a screen share? I know we had talked ahead of time that we thought maybe the best use of our time here was to really give a real live example and kind of show us how you work through it, and we can do it through a screen share. And since you just started in Jacksonville, which is where we're filming this at here, Jacksonville, Florida, beautiful weather, great city. We would love to be the test case here if you could.
I'd love to. We actually literally just launched Jacksonville within hours ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So
time.
it's pretty exciting. I'm interested to look at the data there and see what's going on. What you're seeing on my screen here is Privy. So Privy, it's web-based. You can access it from any device that has an internet connection, and all of the data and everything is working behind the scenes on our servers. This here is our coverage map, so it helps people understand where the data is coming from. And so nationwide, we've got third-party MLS data, which is like aggregated data from a major provider nationwide. And then we've got the owner information, mortgage information, as well as distressed seller situations like foreclosures, absentee owners, vacancies, tired landlords, to name a few. And so a lot of people are targeting kind of those off-market leads, and we are able to provide them the ability to generate lists so they can go and skip trace or do a mailing campaign. But that is kind of like where I think that the majority of our quote unquote competitors are living, is in that space of lead gen, which we were realizes that's kind of been democratized. It's everywhere. So how are we different? Well, the main difference is that we've gone direct to MLS, right? So because we're a brokerage and the way we have our relationship set up, we've gone and negotiated direct data deals with MLS, which gives our users the ability to have access to the same data that appraisers and agents use. However, it's way better than the MLS, because the MLS is basically just a listing database, and it's not an effective way of running comparables or searching for deals. So what we do is we take that data and combine it with all of our other data sources and curate it in a way that makes it useful for real estate investing. And so you can make quicker decisions based off of actual numbers, not some universal formula that a guru teaches on YouTube. And so the blue areas, again, are these live direct to MLS data markets. And so as you mentioned, Jacksonville was one of our newest markets, but for a lot of people, once they decide, okay, I don't want to do business in my own backyard, and honestly, most people shouldn't do business in their own backyard, not because of any other reason, but only for the simple fact that they can have more success someplace else. And so it's kind of an opportunity cost situation. Like, do you want to bang your head against the wall in Rapid City, South Dakota, where no one's doing deals? Or do you want to go to someplace else where there's investor activity? And you actually have, the data there to prove after repair value. You've got good examples. If you're wholesaling, you got lots of buyers as investor-focused agents. There's a lot of benefit by doing this reverse REI strategy. Now, the top right here is where we have kind of some easy buttons. So I'm going to click this button right here that says fix and flip. This is going to plot out on the map where every single fix and flip has happened in the entire US. Now, this isn't just for fix and flipping, but a lot of the major strategies that people use are based off of after repair value, right? So percentage of ARV, this is how people decide how good a deal is. Right around 70, 75% is where people start to think, okay, this could be a deal. And then obviously the lower that goes, the better the opportunity is. So these are actually all closed transactions. The areas that have more blue or more concentration of these, what we call property clusters, the more activity that was there. So I mentioned Rapid City, South Dakota. Look at this right over here. 9 properties that have been fixed and flipped in the last 12 months. This would not be a good use of your time and your resources, right? Not here. But as you start to kind of move into the Midwest, you see there's a lot more blue, a lot more activity. That's a good thing, because in a business where after repair value is kind of the king, you need to be where your comps are at. You don't want to be a trailblazer or the first one that's doing a deal in a particular area, because even if you did the perfect fix and flip, you're going to be very limited on what you can sell that property for if all of the comparables are not renovated.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to be the one that's doing that. And so the better strategy is to go to where your comparable is at, so you can more easily prove after repair value, and also, find good opportunities. So, some of the areas that I like are like St. Louis, Indianapolis, Chicago. We just launched the Jacksonville market, which has some decent activity. Prior to that, the area that it was where the most activity was is kind of like the Tampa and St. Petersburg areas were the areas that had the most activity. And so I can zoom in here, and this will help us determine, again, where we would go. So let's say we chose Florida as a market that we want to target, and maybe you live in Seattle, right? Seattle's another tough market. Well, where in Florida would you go? Well, you can see here based off the map that there are some areas that are hotter than others. Here's that Tampa, St. Petersburg area I told you about. I would choose that over Southeast Florida. Southeast Florida has a little bit of activity. It's just not nearly as much as there. Now, when we look at Jacksonville, this is me my first time seeing this compared to the rest of the state. Let's see what some of those numbers look like. So in my opinion, it's not as hot as the mid-Florida market. But there's still a decent amount of activity here, which would make it fruitful. Now, you guys being there, you could, use the software and you can throw a line in the water in Jacksonville, but you could also do other areas. Because of the automation, it's not so time intensive to where you have to say, okay, I'm only going to do 1 or 2 markets. Well, maybe you could do 2 or 3 because of the automation and the way we help you do your job. So this is all of the fix and flips that are in and around Jacksonville in the last 12 months. So let's zoom in a little bit here. And it looks like to me, probably, right over here is kind of like the hottest area. So I'm going to drill down here, and what's going to happen are these clusters are going to break up into the actual individual properties that were flipped. So every one of these icons is a fix and flip where they purchased it, fix it up, and sold it. And then I set the percentage of ARV at 75%. So anything between 0 and 75.
I'm smiling, by the way, because the first property that pulled up here is on a street called Lydia. We just bought a house literally the next subdivision over. And that's a great price, by the way, for what we paid for it. So big smile on my face. But anyway,
good.
Nothing to do with what you're talking about. That's just cool that that's the first one that popped up. And by the way, let me clarify something. I think, and I want to clarify for myself and make sure the listeners know the limitations with MLS is they don't include for sale by owner comps. Is that correct?
Well, they don't have for sale by owner listings typically in the MLS, but you can comp out a for sale by owner using MLS data. Is that what you meant, that they don't have the listings?
You've aggregated both, I guess. So within Privy, you can have the comps that came from the MLS as well as comps that would be for sale by owner, I guess is what I was looking for. You mean
like completed sold transactions,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we have the county record data, right? So if there was a closing that happened off market that was between a for sale by owner and an investor, or just even a normal person, then yeah, we would have that sale in Privy as a comp.
Very good. Very good.
So
investors are not normal people, by the way, just to tie that down.
Yeah. And so you can see here, like there are certain neighborhoods that are hotter than others, right? So do you want to come over here to Normandy Village and spend a lot of time and money? Well, no, what I would do is I would actually, spend time kind of right in here looking for deals. So this is where you could have a more targeted approach. If for somebody who is interested in doing some off-market marketing, you're going to get a better return on investment searching for deals here, because what's going to end up happening is that if you have somebody who calls you off of like a bandit sign or a mailing campaign or whatever it is, you're going to be able to give them a better offer, meaning higher, than you could in an area over here in Normandy Village, because Normandy is basically the values in that neighborhood are driven by non-renovated homes. So I like to use this analogy here. So you think of it on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 is actually the values that are in a particular neighborhood. Here's the ARVs. 0 is where your maximum allowable offer needs to be for everything in the middle to work. So in the middle is your realtor fees, construction costs, financing fees, profits for the fix and flipper, also maybe an assignment fee for a wholesaler. That's all in the middle. Well, when you're in an area like here over in Horry Hill, which has more investor activity, everything has higher ARV. So things shifts over. So you have a higher ARV, but guess what happened? The back end got pulled up. Your maximum allowable offer can now be a higher number because you got higher ARVs and still make all of the margins in the middle work. But the opposite is true too. If you're in Normandy Village and the values are driven by non-renovated homes, everything gets squashed down. So now we still have to make our margins in the middle work. Well, look where I have to have my offer to make those numbers work. It's a lowball offer. So this is why people are constantly throwing out lowball offers and not understanding why their offers aren't being accepted, is because they're operating in the wrong areas. Where you operate is more important than the lead source itself, foreclosure, absentee owner, everything else. Those lead sources will perform better in these higher investor activity areas, as well as doing on-market deals. So a lot of people don't believe you can do things from the MLS. It's absolutely not true. Based off the data, the majority of properties come from the MLS, majority of successful deals. And so if people are avoiding MLS properties because some guru said you have to go and cold call, you're missing out on the majority of the deals. Now, there's some other logistical challenges you have to face with MLS deals, but it is certainly something that the average entrepreneur can figure out, because that's what we do. We solve problems.
That's it. And let me just interject really quickly on that point, because we have bought properties in every way you probably can residentially. The majority of the deals I've done over 26 years have come through agents, through the MLS, through REOs, through auctions, through listed properties. We still do the marketing that is outside of the box, that is trying to catch you off market properties. But Benson, the reality today is you've got these big players out there, the hedge funds, the open doors, the Zillows, the iBuyers as a whole, that spend a lot of money at marketing, and ultimately they're the ones finding these off market properties. So trying to find those and compete and cold call is certainly challenging. So opening your eyes to the MLS absolutely makes a lot of sense. I just want to add that point.
And you make a great point about the iBuyers, or what we call institutional buyers. This is something that we've been aware of for a long time, and that's another reason why so many investors are submitting offers and not winning, is because they're competing with these large buyers that are backed by Wall Street. They've got really deep pockets, and their motivations are different than the typical person who's investing. They're not necessarily looking for huge discounts. They're playing the long game. So they're thinking about appreciation, and they're thinking about cash flow. So they'll pay market value or close to 100% of the after repair value if they think that it's in a high performing area with good appreciation and decent cash flow. And so the other thing that's interesting is that we've actually been approached by some institutional buyers that people know about us building a product for them, because they are using data, technology, analytics to be able to scale and buy the volume of properties that they want to buy. At the end of 2021, in the third quarter, they were buying 1 out of every 5 properties. It was basically 18% in the whole United States. That's up from 11% the year prior. So by the end of 2022, a lot of people believe that it's going to be close to 25% or over. So 1 out of every 4 properties will be purchased by an institutional buyer. And you mentioned them, private equity firms, hedge funds, open door, but it also does include, companies that are just larger investment firms who are buying a lot of these properties. And so what we've done, I think, with Privy is given institutional level tools and data to the average person who just wants to buy a couple fix and flips, and they'll make them competitive with, the Death Star, right? Who's coming in and their goal is to buy everything. You probably saw in the news recently that one of the major players, I want to say it's BlackRock, came out and said that we believe that the average person doesn't want home ownership.
We talked about this yesterday, and yeah, it just came out this week, and talked about the shared economy and how the entitled next generation, they don't want to own, they want to rent. Yeah, absolutely saw it and was taken a little bit back by it, but I saw it for sure.
And that just goes to show that they have a hunger that will never be satisfied. So you will see the percentage of deals that are being purchased by institutional buyers continue to go up. And as long as that remains profitable, and time will tell, it's just going to keep happening. So we really need to help the average investor who just wants to do a wholesale deal or a fix and flip, or buy a couple rental properties, be competitive. And I think that's what we do with Privy.
Very good. Very good.
Now, I wanted to show you here, we have this activity, but now I've told you about that market level education. This right here is called a comparative market analysis. It's a live comparative market analysis. Our system is building one of these for every single property in the US 24/7. And so we show you the property information, so you can actually have everything in one place, but it's all powered by the algorithms. So when you come down here to the property info, our system automatically comps the property out. So these are all the true comparables, and they will update live. So like this house right here that's pending, if it goes under contract officially, or if it actually closes, it'll update here. So you're always constantly monitoring the area and have the most updated information. Below that though, which is really interesting, is the before and after data on the flip itself. So this actually was an on-market deal. They bought it in June of last year. Here's the before pictures. And I told you about that kind of like a real world fix and flip show. Here's what it looked like before it was fixed up. So really kind of a cool house, lots of character. I'm trying to get some interior photos here. And then we'll see what kind of condition the interior was. So here's what it looked like before.
Wow, is that a pink wall? I mean, I thought we were the only ones that actually had a pink wall in the house. My goodness.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of ironic when I was looking at it. I was like, wait a second.
We're not as original.
Well, here's an orange one. Yeah.
There you go.
So, and this is kind of fun too. And I think this is where like a lot of people in this business, it's such a stressful business. There's so many moving parts, and money's on the line, and relationships are on the line, that we kind of lost the fun of it. And it's fun to look at these things to see what people are doing. They bought this house at 55% of the ARV. Down here, they bought it for $245, sold it for $444. 55% of ARV, that's a great deal. I know people that are spending tens of thousands of dollars per month on off-market marketing, and they're finding stuff higher than this.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know where your sweet spot is there, but that you can see here, here's all the before pictures, and then here's the after. So this is what they did to it. So you can see all of the beautiful photos. You can see what kind of construction they did. You can get design ideas. For the fix and flipper and wholesalers of the world, you really understand like where the bar has been set. What kind of construction is adequate for this neighborhood? Can you get away with a rental grade rehab, or do you have to do something more high end? You don't want to leave money on the table. So overbuilding or underbuilding based off of what you would want or what you saw in some fix and flip show is not the best approach. You want to leverage the data. And so this is an example of a successfully closed deal in this market. And for our wholesalers out there, or for our agents, you want to work with a buyer who's actually doing business. So this is TMC Family Holdings. If you're a wholesaler, this is somebody you want on your buyers list because they just closed a deal. And because of the data that we have in our system, you're able to basically start to build their profile without even having talked to them. So they're looking in 32205. You know that they're willing to buy a property that's a 3.2, 1,596 square feet, 55% of the ARV. One of the things I think is really interesting is that when I look at like Denver, I'm seeing buyers buy up to like 82% of the ARV. And that's not even including construction costs. And so the average person who's doing business in Denver, who's working off of a universal formula, you've probably heard it, Scott, 70% of the ARV minus construction costs minus assignment fee is my offer. Well, you would never get a deal in Denver if you use that formula. But if you leverage the data that we have in Privy, and you know that these 5 buyers will buy up to 82% of the ARV, well, a wholesaler could get something at 80% of the ARV and still wholesale it for an assignment fee and make money. Whereas 99.9% of every wholesaler will pass up on a deal because they don't understand the local market fundamentals, what's going on there. So knowing what a deal is in your market immediately separates you from the pack, because now you can make your buying decisions based off of what actual investors are having success on, not just some universal formula that is going to cause you to pass up on deals that will make you money.
Yeah, let me just interject again. So that's a huge point, Benson. And so I'll just correlate to my experience really here the past 90 days. When you're going by that formula, it's been around for a long time. And the formula is designed to keep you conservative, it's designed to keep you from paying too much. And Ron LeGrand, who I mentioned earlier, and that was at a reunion or a mastermind you were at recently. I worked for him and have a relationship with him still. We not long ago had lunch, and he was talking about how he's adjusted some of his formulas to increase up to 80% as kind of that benchmark for the maximum allow offer, because the market is dictating differently. We're in a, where we are today, depending on what kind of repairs are needed, that it's okay to pay a little more. So I have seen it in our own world with our own deals. If you're trying to kind of stick a particular property that's in a what I would call a hot market or an appreciating market, which seems to be everywhere, but certainly if you look at the map here, there are different pockets that would support, where the activity lies. If you're sticking to that 70% formula, you're going to get lost on deals or left behind. And so that's just a great point. I want to stress that. And again, say that we also have adjusted our ratios based on the fact that where we are with the market, where the values are and where they're going. But we've actually increased based on the fact that we were going to lose out on deals that we knew could make money. So just want to really hone in on that point. I think it's a very, very good point.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's, for some people, there would just be no way for them to know that. And again, this is why so many people fall out of the business, is because they've always been doing things the old fashioned way. But with the way that we teach people about the real estate side of the business, it makes them way more educated, way better prepared to submit offers that have a better chance of being accepted. And that's what we're all here for, right? Is to be able to win. And if you're not making offers, you can't get deals under contract. If you're not getting deals under contract, you can't close, and you're never going to put a check in the bank. So this data really kind of raises the level of what an investor, a wholesaler, fix and flipper, buy and hold investor can do based off of the markets that they target. Now, again, then this is also where you would want to do your off-market marketing. So with Privy, we do have things like foreclosures, absentee owners, vacancies. We've got these filters, so you can create a list, export that list into a CSV, and do your kind of skip tracing or your mailing campaign. But where it's really interesting is I mentioned the MLS side of the business. So right here, there's a button that says find similar active deals. So this is where our patent pending process comes into play, where we use these successfully closed deals as a model for what a deal looks like in this market. And we then use those as a model and look for properties that are similar that you can buy today that have the discount that you want that's based off of your strategy. So with one click, our system can go in here and now it's running comparables on all the properties in this area. And it's only going to show us houses that have a potential margin. But again, based off of investor activity. So here's a house that just came on the market today. It's 23,000, 2900 Thomas Street. If you had a saved search in this market, you wouldn't even actually have to do this live. It would just email you the deal, and you would just have to check your inbox. But here's the property itself. So here's the comparables. And we're in an area where they're doing fix and flips. You can see some of these properties here. And when I look at the data here, you can see that there's actual comparables in the area that are selling, upward of 190,000, 200,000. And this property is available at $23,000. Look at the percentages of ARV on these. If you can get into this 200 range, 12% of ARV. 12%. I mean, that's that unicorn deal that people talk about. They'll be on their deathbeds. Remember that house on Thomas Street that we flipped? We got it at 12%. I mean, this is what's possible when you leverage the data. And again, you could bang your head against the wall, spend tens of thousands of dollars, and never find a property like this through traditional means.
And you just happen to pull it up randomly on our live call here. So that shows the power of the system.
Yep. And the house, I mean, obviously it needs work. You're going to have to go in here, and I don't know what the final ROI would be, but if you just look at the kind of a standard, what is this, 1,172 square feet, let's say it's $40 a square foot. Is that fair? For a construction project in Jacksonville, $40.
I would say so.
So just do 40. a square foot times 1172. That puts us at 46,000. So now we're into it. And I would actually pay over on this. I'd probably pay 30 grand for this house because it's deep enough. So you're at, what, $76,000 all in, and we got an ARV of 200,000, right? And then if we throw another 12,000 on that, that puts us up at like 82 grand all in, and then miscellaneous fees. This looks like it may be a six-figure flip.
I was thinking the same thing.
Six-figure flip with all the costs involved. And again, that's just high level, but you guys should write an offer on this thing today, Scott.
I know. I was just gonna say, I wrote the address down already.
So we do have this sharing feature, which is cool, where you just click share, and then you can send these to your team members. If you're an agent, you can send them to your clients. If you're a wholesaler, we have wholesalers who use these. Once this thing is under contract, they want to market it, they forward these CMAs to their people with the edited version, where you're just showing them the comps that you want to show them, that show the value that you're shooting for. And of course, you can edit the zone. We got a drawing tool here, and you can do a bunch of other stuff. But I mean, obviously, that's just one house that came on the market. Privy doesn't create or destroy deals, but we will help you find that needle in the haystack by leveraging the data and the technology. And it's just super efficient. And I mean, I don't even know. So we charge $100 a month for our software, Scott, but we literally can make people hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think we need to start charging more. How do I get myself into the middle of all of these deals? That's what I need to figure out.
Percentage, $100 plus a percentage, right? Well, I tell you what, I mean, I don't know that the example or the case in point could be any better than what you just shared. And frankly, at that price point, it's very competitive. And as far as $100 a month, and probably underpriced compared to some of the other software products that we've seen. Benson, this is really impressive. Really impressive. And I know there's obviously, you're just scratching the surface with the functionality here. So, well, I would say this. So I know that we have a kind of a window of time here that we have to wrap this up. I want to give a chance for people how do they reach you and ultimately sign up for this. But were there any other features, anything else you want to share on Privy prior to kind of concluding this podcast? And then the second part is, how do people reach out? How do they get a hold of you if they're interested in moving forward?
There's just a couple other things that I think are unique and beneficial. So, our system again is analyzing every property in the US, but people actually, they're working on deals that are outside of Privy. So if you want to run comps and analyze any property, you just type the address right in here to the search bar. Our system builds a comparative market analysis for it, and it'll show you any of the fix and flip activity that's in the area. So you can use that data as a better way of figuring out that ARV. So that's pretty unique. We also have a bulk upload feature. So if you are building or getting lists from other sources, maybe like the local county, or maybe you buy a probate list from an attorney, you can upload that into Privy and pull comparables on hundreds or thousands of properties in seconds without having to do it manually. And so you just upload that list, and then Privy will analyze all those properties. And that's a really cool feature too, because again, people are sourcing leads from other places, not just from what we have here or from our data sources. And besides that, I mean, there's just lots of other value here. Like I said, you can download lists, and you can skip trace. You can track, every property here has a buyer attached to it, every fix and flip property. So when wholesalers are building their buyers list, build a strategic high value list. Don't just go collect business cards from the local RIA or get some people from Facebook. Are they even really doing deals? Well, with the way that we show you investor activity, every one of those transactions has a buyer attached to it. Also, what's attached to every one of those transactions is an agent. And rather than just going and talking to random agents, if you're looking for an agent that you want to leverage in a different market, well, the best way to find that investor focused agent who understands real estate investing is by the ones that are working with real estate flippers. So we can show you who the agent is on all these properties too, so that you can find those investor focused agents who better understand your business model and can serve your needs. So lots of value there, building lists, off-market leads, being able to analyze thousands of properties in seconds and just really cutting through the noise down to what's the most important and allow you to focus on money-making activities. That's really where we're focused at, and it's only going to get better. We're planning on adding more markets. So you saw the coverage map before. A lot of it's going to be more and more blue. We plan on being in every major city and second tier city. And we're also going to be adding in new data sources. So we're going to be adding in short-term rental data, like an Airbnb and VRBO. We're also going to be adding in more kind of distressed seller situations, calculators, just a bunch of stuff. We actually have a fundraising round open right now where we're bringing in money to help fuel our next phase of growth. And so that's pretty exciting. So we can actually hire all the people we want to hire. We got some amazingly talented people on the team right now. But our team's growing, and with our market share growing and with the growth of the company, we need additional people who can help us execute that. And so it's exciting times, Scott. It really is.
Sounds like it. Good for you. I didn't know about the fundraising and add new people. That's great. That's great. Well, Benson, I got to tell you, I've looked at a lot of programs. We subscribe to a few right now, and this feels head and shoulders above everything that I've looked at. Really impressive, and it sounds like you're just getting started. So this is a continued, getting better every day. And I'm just going to tie down what I said at the very beginning: your background and what I called your pedigree, all of your experiences. I mean, all play so well into what you're doing here with Privy. So thank you for sharing that. If people that are interested in moving forward that would like to sign up or get more information, how do they do that?
Well, you can go to our website. It's getprivynow.com. Privy is spelled Privy. So getprivynow.com. You can call the office. My number here is 844-438-7748. And you can email me, and that's benson@teamprivy.com. And so, I'm thinking too, we'll probably have like a link or something that's there that people can click.
Yeah, we'll put those links here in the video and make sure that they have that easily accessible.
Yeah, and for a lot of you too, don't get scared about technology. Like some people believe, like, oh my God, I can barely operate my cell phone. How am I going to use algorithms to find deals, right? Like you've seen the system, at least a picture of it. We've made it extremely simple for anybody to use. We've got kids in high school who are using Privy to find deals. We've got retirees who are kind of fumbling around with their own computers that are using Privy, wholesalers, fix and flippers, buy and hold investors. I just signed up a guy last night from Canada who's investing in the US. We got lots of out of country people who use our system. So it's across the board. If you've never done a deal, we can help you do your first deal. If you're highly advanced and you've done a lot, we can help you scale and do multiple markets and increase the amount of deals that you're closing per year. So just let me know how I can help. I'm always available. I'm happy to share my experience with you, even if it's not through Privy, and just help everybody kind of move their businesses forward.
Fantastic. We'll include those links here in the information section. And I want to just say thank you again for your time. I've enjoyed the chance to get to know you before this, and certainly the time that we spent here. I think you've got a great product. Congratulations on the early or initial success and continued, of course, and look forward to seeing a lot more of what you guys build. And we certainly look forward to being a part of that, of your system and taking advantage of some of those opportunities. And I'm going to put an offer on that Thomas Street here as soon as we get off this podcast. So anyway,
Awesome.
Benson, I want to thank you. And obviously want to say thank you to those that are listening. This has been another episode of the Real Estate Investors Money Matrix podcast. My special guest, Benson Juarez with Privy. And we'll have all the information attached here for you to contact him. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for another episode very soon. Benson, thanks again. Look forward to our paths crossing again very soon.
Thank you so much. We'll be in touch. Appreciate it. Thanks, Scott.
I see you've been watching our videos, and I want to give you a big thank you. If you've ever wanted to get into real estate investing, there's never been a better time than now. Click the link below for more information on how you can work with myself and my team, or visit pinkaffiliates.com. That's pinkaffiliates.com. We have a variety of options for you to get started at whatever level you are interested in. Click the link below, visit pinkaffiliates.com, and see what Pink can do for you.